Unlike any other medium, the look of the environment is crucial to any location-based entertainment. You're not looking at a screen or through a window, but walking fully immersed through the dream worlds we've created.
The show designer and art director must be a master of the visual grammar. They use shape, color, texture, form, and perspective to tell a story and paint the environment.
An essential point to visual storytelling is the layout, shape, and form.
The master artists at Pixar recognize layout as the most critical stage of design.
Just look at what creative placement can bring to a scene.
Vertical forms are strong and powerful.
Whereas horizontal lines are a bit more static, stationary, and stable, even if there is very little actually supporting it.
On the contrary, vertical lines are active and exciting.
To me, diagonals always seem like they're falling. They tend to give a sense of complete instability, uneasiness, and momentum.
The many chimneys of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter combine the power of the vertical with the fragile instability and constant motion of the diagonal. It makes this magical land that much more dynamic.
I will never forget the first time I presented a computer-generated visualization to Kathy Kirk, the Vice President of Show Design at Walt Disney Imagineering. I explained to her how we could use geometry to model and recreate all the elements of a ride. She looked at me, looked at the wall behind her and all the pictures of Toontown, turned back and said, "But Harry, this is Disney. We don't use geometry here. Do you see any straight lines?" Well, she and I might have a different definition of geometry, but she was absolutely right. The form of Toontown was all curves. Those soft, rounded, friendly surfaces are what makes Toontown what it is. The buildings that look like their faces that could talk to you. That feel of being inside a soft, friendly place. Form defines Toontown.
Color can set an emotional mood, from cool, tranquil blues and greens of water to warm reds of sunsets and hellfire.
Color can be vibrant and exciting.
It could also be formal, bold, and empowering.
Color is used in architecture to note the individuality and personalization of the different buildings. Typically, neighboring buildings would be very similar in structure.
The two houses behind us have similar shape, form, and value.
While they may have different base color or hue, they still feel like they belong in the same neighborhood and time period. This is due to their similar brightness and value.
Even the most diverse colors and hues can look great together if they have the same value and saturation. From the boldness of my shirt to the stately grace of that window. They both have their own consistent value and saturation.
Whether shiny and new or old and weathered, consistency and texture will hold the scene together, and it will tell you a great volume about the age, period, and location of the environment.
I think even just adding like age and textures to the elements around add a lot of story. Like in this chimney, there's like black from like smoke, so you can tell it looks like it's been used like over years with fires, even though it's just black tint on it. And like adding those little details makes you think what caused it and like what is the story that's being told. And you can even see it all on the rooftop, so it shows that like, you know, smoke has been going in here for years.
I think it's kind of fantastical that Harry Potter is set in this medieval setting, and everywhere you look around you, it feels like you're in a completely different era. You have the stone in the walls, you have the antlers that are mounted on it, the flickering candelabra above you, and all of it just kind of comes together. There's nowhere in your line of sight that actually breaks the illusion, and that's really what sells it when you're at a theme park.
Like color in music, landscapes can invoke a feeling.
Compare the difference between a formal ornamental garden or a dark and foreboding forest.
For example, this garden here has a warm and homely appearance. You can feel that it was once meticulously planted and cared for.
It is apparent that it was left abandoned and survived the ravages of time.
The overgrowth, rusted tools, and wagon wheel paint a picture and tell a story.
Despite their random arrangement, they're placed there for just that reason. Notice how they planted plants actually inside this wagon and this wheel, giving the illusion that plants are reclaiming the land.
All the tools, rocks, and stones are left weathered. and the consistent texture and color show they're about the same age.
The thing that seems most out of place is the little white sculpture there on the front.
Its brightness and clean texture do not match the rest of the terrain.
Perhaps a smudge of brown paint or sprayed on dust would make it feel more appropriate.
One of the most important parts of scenic painting is aging and graining.
Painters can add age by doing things like sanding and scratching, using putty to add texture, and using techniques like dry brushing or spray painting. Occasionally, we'll even throw sand into the drying paint. These design aspects can be seen everywhere in Western films, down to the distressed costumes or faded painted signs.
And everybody knows the Wild West was sepia-toned anyways.
Obviously, in the actual Wild West, things are painted shiny and new, just as they are today.